Cool. Hey everyone. So yeah, we'll just open with a quick recap of, I guess, the last 2 weeks since our last AMA. So a couple of things happening over the last month. Really, we've got the new website up and running, and again, thank you to Mary for the incredible art that we've got up on there, which is now on display on a truck in Miami, being driven around outside the Bitcoin 2021. Yeah, long week. It is
Good.
Bitcoin, and it is currently 2021, so that would make sense. Yeah, so alongside that, then we had obviously our NFT charity drive launch with Real, which has raised over $50,000 now. So well done to everybody on that one. That's absolutely incredible. And obviously we've kicked off our new drive with Bingus. So let's see how far that one can take us. Going to be exciting to see. Yeah, thanks to everybody for jumping in. I know outside of that stuff, it's been a quiet 2 weeks, but obviously a lot of work is happening behind the scenes, and we're hoping that we're going to have more, I suppose, bigger things to do with development, stuff like that, to show off to you all soon. Skyler, any words from you before we start reading through?
No, man, that's no, it looks like you pretty much covered it. Shout out to Prism or Ott if you're in here. It doesn't look like you are, but currently they are at the event right now, walking around.
Yeah, ground floor. So awesome to have representation down on the actual floor itself. So yeah, hopefully we'll introduce a lot more people to Dogira over the weekend, and we'll get to welcome a few more people into our happy crypto family.
If you guys have any other events in mind, expos that you see that I'm not seeing, please go ahead and send them over to me, especially if they're in, well, actually anywhere. Just let me know where they are, and I'll see if we can coordinate someone being there, or even myself if they are close enough and I'm not buying like a $3,000 ticket to like England or something.
Yeah, I was thinking this is one of the most perfect opportunities I have in my life to go fly business class over to Miami for a weekend. And then I remember that, no, then you'd be working in the heat and you don't like the heat. So you wouldn't have enjoyed it.
No.
Cool. I guess let's kick on with the questions then. I think we've a couple that have been posted in there already. So Skyler, do you want to do the honors?
Absolutely. Let's see. Where is our biggest opportunity for growth? I would honestly say our biggest opportunity for growth would be when we actually have a working product out and we can say, hey, look, everybody, Dogira has utility. This is our product. Because right now, I mean, you could get a bunch of people that are speculators and say, hey, go ahead and invest in Dogira. You can see some great returns if you're just caring about quote unquote price go up. Then, yeah, I mean, we have that crowd. But once we actually have a working product out, that's where I see a lot of projects actually gain a lot of traction. Owen, did you want to add anything on there?
Yeah, so obviously I'd agree on that one, that right now we're in a market phase where speculation is driving price in a lot of areas. So ideally what we would want to do is, start actually getting a product out, start showing off the things that we can actually build in that. And I suppose make good on the value that we're already starting to build from that. Now, it is an odd time to say it in a market where we see random coins launch and hit, 50, 100, $500 million market caps and even more for no utility, no service, just for being its own running machine, and that's it. So for us, obviously, we're looking at actually building, quality and growth alongside of it. And that doesn't mean that we're not looking at things, before we have things up and running. We're obviously working on the white paper right now. We're working on marketing, marketing the opportunities that are actually ahead in it, the value that we're going to build. That typically buying in right now is like buying into, a micro cap or a small cap business who have not yet released their first product, but they have shown you, the products they've worked on before, and they've shown you the ability to actually build new products. Their ideas are on display, and that's what people are buying into right now. That value starts solidifying when we start seeing, white paper coming out, when, we have everything kind of written down on, let's say, in stone, but rather on paper, that you can actually see that stuff. And then, of course, we start releasing working demos, working technology, etc., etc. But I think that, there's so much ahead when it comes to growth for this, that we're still operating mostly underground at the moment. I know we're up at a healthy market cap at the moment. We have a healthy amount of holders actually, with coins in their wallet right now. But as compared to where the coin can actually go, like again, you can look at the likes of Engine and other blockchain gaming projects. There's still a long way that we can go from here. So I think that we're still like on the launch pad waiting to go. And I think that that's all going to come to fruition once we start getting actual products out. And if you look at Engine, for example, their ERC 1155 standard, like that was one of kind of like their big catalysts and like showing the actual work that they could do, and they solved a lot of problems with it as well. So yeah, I think that we kind of need that moment for ourselves. We need to actually get our products out there, and I think that that will be what we see a lot of our growth coming from.
So let's see. This next one is who will be our target customers. And Owen, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I believe that we're mainly targeting indie developers at the start with our product, and then gamers.
Yes and no. Like,
okay.
So we've obviously got a lot of holders right now. Some of them are interested in gaming and some of them are not. They're just seeing actual value in it, stuff like that. When you're talking about the Dogira token, like when we start, see, there's a lot that I'm trying not to say here that may or may not be in a white paper. But let's say, for example, that we had an off-chain token. And let's say based on the amount of Dogira you have in your wallet, you will receive an airdrop of that off-chain token. So in that case, are you holding Dogira because you want to play a game with Dogira? You want to play it with an off-chain coin? Or are you holding it for the fact that you're going to get dropped an asset which will have its own inherent value? So there's a lot of kind of things in there for, I suppose, an investment point of view or a speculation point of view. In actual utility sense, like, again, a lot of it comes down to kind of what we target first and what we roll out with. So if we start developing, our own in-house titles or anything like that, or we start porting over titles or working directly with developers, if that's kind of a case where it's possible that we're looking to mostly use potentially off-chain tokens or our own tokens, etc., to build more value onto the coin itself and to create experiences that are directly using the technology that we're developing on. Then there's the other side of it where we want to, make an SDK that can just be quickly integrated into games once we have, I think building our own experiences is a brilliant way of finding out exactly what kind of stuff we need to have in there. So I found from working with a lot of SDKs in the past through, working in gaming and stuff like that, there's a lot of things I find the developers weren't really aware of being such a necessity until it came to me sitting there and trying to use the SDK and realizing there's a glaring hole in it. So if it came to the stage where we were, developing on our own titles and building the SDK more so around experiences and then making the more generic plug and play version available, then you'd have to say that, we're maybe directly targeting gamers in that case, because if they want to play the game, this token is involved in it. But of course, that also has a target audience of speculators and holders in it as well. Because if it's a limited supply and we're not, minting new versions when people are coming in, then it's going to go up in value, pending that it actually has a demand for it at least. So yeah, it's a very difficult question to answer, but I suppose in a very general sense, it would be the gaming industry. And then we have our stuff like NFT partnerships. So if your interest was just in holding an asset and having some charitable donations through that as well, that's another bracket that you fall into. You might have no interest in gaming. So yeah, it is quite broad, but I would say if you wanted to give a very kind of generic response on it, it would be the gaming industry.
Okay, perfect. Next question. What do you think is the number one reason customers will use or buy our products? Owen, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, sure. So again, it depends on exactly what products we decide to drop first, and we'll have more information on that in the white paper. The number one reason I'm imagining a lot of people will be in here is that they see something right now as an asset, perhaps an asset in the, the speculation stage as we're talking about. And a lot of people that will be buying it right now will be buying it just simply for the fact that, the technology will help this grow and it will grow in value. And at that point, it's an investment. For stuff that's inside of the actual gaming industry itself, let's say we developed a new title or ported a title and we ported it over to use on-chain technology. So let's say, even we just made currency into a token or perhaps cosmetics into NFTs, stuff like that. At that point, it'll be integrated into the game itself. So the reason that you would be using it at least is because you have interest in the game itself. So one of the biggest things I have with Dogira is if you're making something that's for gaming on the blockchain, it should be unintrusive. It shouldn't have something where, somebody's opening it up and they're incredibly aware of the fact that they're playing on the blockchain, because the only reason you should ever be aware of that is if things are slowing down or you're getting transaction failures or, things that you don't want to happen inside of a game. So for all you know, like you should be able to log into a game, play it as normal, say buy things with gold coins or what have you in it, and just not have any kind of idea that this is operating on the blockchain. That for all you know, you're playing a game and you're enjoying it. The actual usage of coins in it, then it's on the blockchain, but you don't care. And maybe at some point you'll find out you're actually worth €1 million or $1 million in these coins that you're holding. But it should just work as normal within the game. So this should be stuff that is helpful more than anything. It's something that a developer will want to have in the game. It removes challenges for them. It allows for, a much more interesting ecosystem that they can build within their own project without kind of shoving it in people's face as a selling point that it's on the blockchain. It should simply be a fact of this is a good game. Also, P.S. we are on the blockchain. So that's kind of what I would look for from it. So I hope that answers the question. I know it's a little bit of a vague answer to give on it, that why would they buy our products directly? And yeah, I'm kind of sitting here talking about, you won't even know you're using it in some cases, that it will help the developer, and in turn then you will be using it and you may or may not notice a direct benefit from it. In some games maybe it'll be very integrated into it. In others it might just simply be part of their own private ecosystem. They might be using tokens, but they're not adding liquidity or anything like that. I mean, they just want to use the blockchain for, say, nearly storage purposes and stuff like that. Like they want to track the use of an NFT and what players it goes through or what mobs have been killed with it and what enchantments have been placed on it, etc. And in that case, you're just playing the game and enjoying it. And the blockchain is making it possible, but you don't need to be aware of the fact that it's on the blockchain. You just need to know what it's actually doing. And that's generally how I would target any technology, that it should improve things without there being any sort of caveat. And I think that that's what we're mostly aiming for, that we want to build experiences and enhance those experiences without actually stepping on any toes with it. You shouldn't have to sacrifice anything. So that means, it's a very wide consumer base at that point. And yeah, for will use or buy our products, it's as simple as any other product, I guess. It has to be better than what's already out there, and it has to be obviously affordable. That's kind of what we look at from these things, yeah.
Yeah, Owen said it a lot better than I ever could with that answer. My answer would have been, well, the game looks fun, so I'm going to buy it, or I'm going to play it, or I'm going to use it, and it somehow gives me some added benefit of decentralization and crypto. So, thank you, Owen.
Yeah, no, well, I'm sure for enthusiasts it would be a selling point that, they want to play with crypto and stuff like that. But for the mass market, at least how it is right now, at least, with crypto still being something you can get cancelled on Twitter for if you speak in the wrong crowd. It's it needs to be mass marketable. You shouldn't have to notice that it's there. You shouldn't need to enthuse about it. It's just simply this makes the product better, and that's it.
Let's see the next one. iOS or Android? What is it, Owen? Tell me. iPhone or Android? Which one?
It's Android for me. I have an ROG Phone 5 and don't like it as much as the ROG Phone 2, but unfortunately that fell out of my jeans pocket, fell about maybe 1 foot onto the floor and shattered. So yeah, build quality is maybe a little bit lacking on them. But yeah, always been developing on Android. What about you, Skyler? Are you Android or iOS?
Oh, nope, Android all the way. I had some Kyocera before I had the Samsung that I have now. I always get the ones that I don't even have to think about. Like if I drop them, it's fine. Like my phones have gone through some really crappy situations, and they're totally fine.
Yeah.
So definitely durability over anything else, and Android over iPhone.
Yeah, well, I now use a cover on my phone, so I learned that lesson the hard way. But I don't think this cover would actually save it at all. It's yeah, beautiful phones as long as you never drop them, and very powerful too.
Absolutely. What are the best things we can do to keep our stakeholders and future customers loyal? You guys are coming out with some great questions with all of these. Let me take a second to actually think about that.
Yeah, so, well, from my end anyway, a lot of it comes down to, at this moment in time at least, creating real value for the coin. As in, we have to show the amount of work that we're doing, and a lot of that falls on the development team and on the core team. That in keeping people, I don't like using the word loyal. Like, it's not even kind of, we don't want people to have a brand loyalty blindly in the product or anything like that. I think if you need to, if we need to sit here and ask ourselves, oh, what can we do to get people to be more loyal? I think at that point we're probably doing a bad job somewhere else if we have to actually consider the fact that we need to particularly do something to keep somebody loyal. I mean, a lot of the stuff right now is driven by speculation. That's a pure reality at the moment. And to kind of keep that rolling along, we have to, I suppose, show our worth as a core team. That if you're sitting here and you're, listening to ourselves, speaking to us, and you lose confidence in the actual team, that would typically be what would drive somebody out at this moment in time. That you need to see things going well, you need to see efforts being made, you need to see, say, the new website dropping and stuff like that. And that's what the core team have to do at this point. We have to make sure that this stuff is moving, that people understand what we're building. And I mean, if people are going to enthuse about it, then it's on the core team to make sure they have something to enthuse about. I mean, if we sit here and we just say, oh yeah, the price might go up sometime, I don't know, we're not really doing anything, then it's not going to be, well, to put it in a phrase to return on the question, I don't think anybody would have loyalty to that. Well, I'm sure one or two would have loyalty to the idea of price go up, but as far as speaking with, as far as speaking in a more mass marketable kind of way, you need to actually have a product that people will believe in and a team that people believe in too. So for me, I think a lot of that falls on the core team. And when people have confidence in that team, when they have confidence in what's being built, they'll enthuse about the product, and that will bring on new stakeholders into the actual coin itself. So yeah, that's what it kind of comes down to for me anyway, that it's on us to make sure that you guys all have something to enthuse about and get excited for.
So yeah, definitely communication and delivering the product, or delivering, let's say, roadmap events on time. Keep that confidence in us from those stakeholders.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
What are our greatest risk for meeting our targets? I would say personally, getting another dev on board. We are looking into it, and we are doing actively interviews, looking through resumes and stuff, as we do have some people that have applied. I can tell you guys that much. I would say that, and the overall market for sure. That of course plays a role with any of the crypto companies that are out there. We could and we can develop in a bear market, but of course it is not that great for us or really anybody.
Yeah, well, like I've said a couple of times before, for me, bear markets are just like, well, I'm still developing. It's easy for me. It's not so easy for other people who are watching on, like people who have, like if somebody invested at 10 cents per token, the bear market creeps in and, the prices drop down, then they're going to be frustrated. They're going to want to see things happening a lot quicker. The reality is, from a development perspective, I would just kind of be sitting there going, like, I'm still developing at the same pace. This is the reality of it. It will be fantastic to have, I suppose, more growth within the core team, to have another developer come on board and, bring on more people wherever kind of plausible, wherever kind of works for Dogira. That I think that's kind of one of the greatest things we can do right now in ensuring that we're able to meet our targets. And yeah, like that's kind of like that level of kind of team cohesion and making sure that we've gotten all of our ducks in a row. Like, I think that's one of the biggest problems for any crypto startup or any low cap, especially. Like albeit it's become a lot more normal over the last kind of 2-3 years. Not 2 or 3 years, 1 year. It just feels like 2 or 3 years. But since the pandemic kicked in, it's become a lot more normal for people to work from home and for there to be meetings on Zoom and, over voice calls, stuff like that. When you're working with crypto, that is the norm. It's very unlikely that you'll be in the same building, let alone, the same country or anything like that as people you're working with. So, that is something that teams have to work very hard to keep a good cohesion on, make sure that everybody's in line with each other and that you can run it as well as you can, a startup that you're running out of an apartment with everybody living in there, that kind of stuff. So team cohesion and making sure that everybody's able to work together well, everybody can work to the best of their abilities. And that would be one of the biggest things for me of what a coin needs to succeed.
What was the biggest innovation over the last decade in our industry? If you're talking about crypto, then crypto itself. And I am not able to speak whatsoever on SDKs and gaming. So Owen, please take the floor on this one. Talk on.
Sure thing, man. Yeah. So when it comes to crypto, outside of just crypto, for me, it would certainly be the smart contracts. Like that's when I first started working with blockchain 1.0 stuff with Dogecoin and things like that. One of my biggest things on it was the fact that this is using a lot of electricity, and what's the actual use in it outside of that? And so obviously, one of the biggest things we look at now when we look back on Bitcoin, it's obviously still here and still a very massive thing. But the fact that it was there to bring kind of democracy to currency, things like that. So yes, that overall would be the largest innovation we've had, the actual birth of the industry. But outside of that, the time that I started getting, interested in crypto again was when we came towards smart contracts that, we're coming to the point now where, it's, money that can actually execute code quite easily without needing any real centralization on it. Like, that's again why I'm very bullish on Cardano, that I think that they might be the ones to solve currency. Now, there's still quite a bit to go on that. And, they obviously have their smart contract system that needs work and needs releasing, stuff like that. But I think smart contracts in general will probably be heralded as one of the biggest drivers of cryptocurrency over the next decade at a minimum. And I believe it is the biggest driver right now. Especially, if you wanted to mint a new coin back in the blockchain 1.0 days, you fork Bitcoin, you might change the algorithm around on it. You'll try to do whatever cool things you can do within the code base, but there's only so much you could kind of do with it, and there's only so much use you could give it as well. Now that we have smart contracts and the fact that, well, maybe it's a blessing and a curse that anybody with any kind of experience in programming at least can pick one up and modify a few things, make their own unique tokenomics, etc. It's I think it's just kind of opened the doors a lot. There's no need for C++ developers anymore to jump in on a coin. Solidity is closer to JavaScript than it would be to C++. So I think the barriers are coming down very quickly for developers and for just completely regular people to sit down and start playing with this stuff. So yeah, I would say that for me anyway, smart contracts. And sorry, I know I'm rambling on a bit as I normally do when we're on a time limit.
You're good, man. You're good. I can guarantee you that the community loves to hear you rambling on.
It's just the amount of questions that we have in there, and we've got about 35 minutes left, so I will try to get through them a little bit quicker. But for advancements in gaming, I'm going to be somebody that you might want to throw rotten fruit at after this, but I think it's happening right now, and it's probably in real-time ray tracing and hopefully real-time path tracing. It's the pinnacle of what we're really going to get with at least 2D projected images and stuff like that. I think that that's probably one of the biggest things we're seeing right now. It's nearly a silent revolution, because a lot of this work we already kind of completed through hacks on rasterization. Now that we have true ray tracing and true path tracing coming in, I think that that's the final kind of great leap we're going to make in graphics until we see a very brand new technology come through. VR is obviously a huge thing on it as well, but I think motion control actually needs to be the one to stand up and kind of take the award on that one. I had the original Oculus Rift development kit where it was plug in your Xbox controller, put on the headset. There was no motion control at all, and even when they sent out the full kit for me, then it was still motionless. It just had a little bit of depth perception and stuff like that, but that was about it. When I got the HTC Vive and I actually had the wands and I was able to walk around my room, then it became something incredible. So that's one of the most it's one of the most amazing experiences I think you have, is when you put on that headset and you could see the controller or your hands and stuff like that inside of a game. It's immersion that we can't really come anywhere near without having motion control. So I think that it's one of those things that kind of developed slowly in the background. Obviously, the Nintendo Wii pushed it massively forward in terms of popularity. But I think it's at such an incredible point right now, and we don't really use it for the sole fact of it is super expensive. And we don't really have the room. Like, a lot of people don't have houses that would allow them to set up a kit like that without having them run into a wall in a 2x2 area, stuff like that. So yeah, in gaming, I would think that that's probably been the biggest innovation we've seen over the last decade, a mix between real-time ray tracing and VR, motion control part of it at least. I suppose to finish out one more bit on that is what we're working on at the moment. I think that once we do have games that are utilizing the blockchain without them being any hindrance to the player, that they're just enhancing the experience, that is probably one of the biggest innovations we are going to see over the next couple of years. And I think we are much more on top of it than people realize. Like, Cardano, I think, is going to pave the way for a lot of stuff in that we have, a massive network running decentralized, and it doesn't have exorbitant gas fees to do things with. The Binance Smart Chain is actually doing pretty well in that area too when you consider the gas, but of course it is centralized, which kind of takes away a little bit of that. It kind of takes away the brownie points you get for low gas. But I think we are really on top of like the area where we can actually get this stuff working, and it can start appearing in games without being a hindrance. It is just a benefit to have in there. It has just made the experience better without needing any caveat on top of it. So I think that's what we're going to see over maybe the next decade is what's going to be big in it.
What is your vision of our company in 1 and 2 years' time? Mine might be a little bit different than Owen's or Dan's, let's say. So, I mean, for me personally, I would see us constantly developing the product that we have. There'd be SDKs, the games on top of them, the tokens that, there's so many different things that we can do with either our own token, the Dogira token, ones that are attached or related to it, or other people launching their own on our token, like launching their own token and using ours to do all the microtransactions in the games that they develop on. But pretty much just continuously developing on the product that we have, expanding the team, expanding the company, etc.
Yeah, for myself, it's more about adapting to the industry as it moves along. Like, we could find that, it comes to September, we launch a game that is integrated on blockchain and the game gets, super popular. So we have to at that point state that, okay, so this is driving up a lot of value for our holders. People are really interested in this game, etc. At that point, then we need to, sit there and say, well, obviously we need to put more resources and time into this. We need to maintain a bit of agility when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't like to sit here and tell you, exactly where I see us being in 1 or 2 years' time, because I see us needing to evolve as we go along with that. Like, the industry is going to change while we're in it, and we might be the catalyst for some of that change, or we might need to react to changes that are happening on the market or with our own releases, things like that. So I would hope that we'll have a lot more people that know about Dogira across the next year or two. That's kind of one thing that can kind of put firmly in the sand. But as to kind of our vision outside of kind of what's coming in the white paper, it is something that, we have got out on a roadmap. We're showing off exactly what we're aiming to do. But I think we do need to maintain the agility to know when we're seeing something that could merit a lot of attention on our parts, etc.
And the next here, can you explain a bit how exactly the 4% tax fee is split among wallets, and how does the circulation work for someone holding 100 Dogira versus someone holding 1,000? So pretty much the rebase.
Yeah, so we have the buy the dip bonus, we have the 10th buy bonus. So the two of those take up 2% of the transaction, or 50% of the 4% fee. And then we have the actual redistribution on that one then. So the next 25% is just redistributed out to all holders. So as an example on that, the distribution is done on a shares basis. So if you have 100 Dogira and someone is holding 1,000 Dogira, the person with the 1,000 Dogira is holding more shares in the pool than you, so they will receive a higher reflection rate. But there could be multiple people in the pool. Well, there are multiple people in the pool. So there could be somebody with 10,000 Dogira or 100,000 Dogira, and it's split It's split evenly among them based on their share in the pool. So what you need to do is take the actual number of tokens you have, divide it in by the total supply, and that is your share in the pool. So whatever amount of tokens is being reflected into it, you then need to assume that you need to reflect that evenly among the distribution of the pool stakeholders itself. And the last 25% of that then would be into the Doge City wallet. So I hope that made sense.
I think it does, and that actually answers the second question he had there as well.
Cool.
The third question: any new team members joining soon? Yes, we are, and this actually goes into one of the other questions we have here. We'll be doing Medium posts that were mentioned before, and Ask Me Anything. Yes, and we'll be releasing a Medium update here shortly, and in that Medium update, we're going to be officially announcing the a new team member joining us. And yeah, Owen, would you like to add into any of that?
Yeah, so the new team member, just to kind of set expectations here, we spoke about a developer a little bit earlier. It's not a developer we have joining us on that. It'll be somebody joining, our core team, like a backroom team, but it won't be on our development side.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. I could see how somebody could get a bit of miscommunication there from what I talked about previously. Yes, we are still interviewing developers. It is not a new dev, but it is a member of our team. What has changed about how we select and vet partners so we can better ensure that there are no more unnecessary delays with future events? When it comes to selecting and vetting partners, it's a little bit different than unnecessary delays with future events. So if I select vet a partner and they're stellar, like we get a partnership with freaking I don't know, Chainlink or something, or like Polygon, and suddenly, like, that's official. We are officially partners in some way with them, and they have delays. It's on them. There's not so much that we can do on that part. We can try to mitigate as much delays on our behalf, which we are doing, and we are constantly evolving with that, making sure that we're doing the right things. And if we fail on that, then going ahead and fixing that. But when it comes to vetting and selecting partners, we have done our due diligence with both Bingus and Riao. And so the whole unnecessary delays thing, I don't believe that it's exactly, connected with how we select and vet partners.
Yeah, I'd agree on that. I mean, the reality is that these things do happen. We couldn't foresee it. I know there was confusion on the day that I think somebody had thought that it was a Dogira inflicted delay. I only found out about this after I logged on, and for all I knew on that day, we were still going ahead with the launch. So there's obviously stuff like that we need to kind of just bring up and advise on, that, we need to be a little bit more cohesive in how we have communication across these events, things like that. And I think a lot of that, again, comes down to, for myself at least personally, I think that if an event is announced, it needs to be nearly treated like a smart contract, that there's no changing that unless something really breaks down. But the reality is, Bingus had some things come up on their side. I believe Bog Tools were doing a relaunch as well. And I believe they have a partnership with Bog Tools. So, when they're relaunching an entire token, like, we do have to kind of sit and go like, yeah, that's fair. That's a pretty big event. It's unfortunate that, the notice came in so late on it and that we couldn't do anything to kind of mitigate the delay. But, these things happen. So I wouldn't put it down to, vetting a partner incorrectly. I mean, the work that we're doing with them, when you consider the amazing NFT collection that we have, the charities that we're, the good causes that we're raising money for, and of course the people that are involved with it as well. And then finally, the actual Bingus team themselves have been, obviously extremely welcoming to any members from the Dogira community, as we have been to theirs. So I certainly wouldn't put it down to poor vetting or anything like that. I think for the partners that we do have at the moment, the stuff that we're doing together, particularly around having strong community links and being able to run these campaigns together, I think that they've been very successful, save for, a small delay, which I think we all kind of managed to get over. It's unfortunate when it happens, but it does happen. So yeah, for future partners we go forward with, so it does kind of change based on kind of where we are at the moment. For coming on board with Bingus and Riao, a lot of that was, we started looking up tokens that were running their own animal charity campaigns, because it was something that we had in our roadmap, something that we really wanted to do, but we couldn't find the time to, commit ourselves 100% to it. So Bingus and Real were able to take a lot of the heavy lifting off that for us. They've already donated to charities. They have teams that we're able to, put our trust in, and it kind of made perfect sense for us. These are good communities. They're, not at massive market caps or anything like that. So we're not going to be, a small, tiny partner on the corner. This is going to be pretty equal between all of us. We're able to work together as partners on this one, rather than, the last thing I want to kind of see is, we jump into a partnership where there's no interest on the other side in a partnership because they're much more massive. And there's no technology that they're bringing to the table that we could make use of. There's nothing on our side that they could make use of. I mean, as brilliant as it would be for us to have a partnership with a massive coin and be able to donate towards their work and have them freely donate back towards ours, we can help each other along in mutually beneficial ways. Then yeah, that would be fantastic. But again, it kind of we look at what we're actually running into at the moment. So right now, when it comes to looking at partners, I think we have two brilliant partners as far as charity work goes and in community connections, links and things like that. Right now, when it comes to partnerships, we would be looking more along the lines of what can we do to kind of improve Dogira's offerings as a standalone tool, and what can we do for another token that can add genuine value to them without, say, something stupid like staking a bit of Dogira or anything like that. Add real value to their product, preferably with our expertise rather than just throwing tokens out or anything like that. So yeah, that would be kind of my view on partnerships moving forward.
So the next one, when will we see the marketing ramp up mentioned in Q2? Is that already live? That is in the works. End of Q2 is the end of this month, and I mean that's really all I'm going to say on it, unless Owen wants to say something.
Yeah, marketing ramp up has already happened. I mean, if you haven't noticed, we've tripled or quadrupled the amount of holders that currently have the token. The price went on a parabolic leap to 40, a further parabolic leap to 70, a cool off at 40. And obviously then we had the general market correction that we went through. Things are a bit bearish right now. But I think I wouldn't think really anybody doesn't think that marketing ramp up has started. We're obviously not finishing marketing. That's a constant that we'll have to run with. But the marketing ramp up has happened. We're continuing to market. We have other things we've been marketing on. In particular, there's a truck driving around Miami at the moment with Dogira plastered across it. But yeah, this stuff is still happening in the background.
Let's see, next. Fun one. We already know Dogira is a dog and a lizard and a dinosaur. Can Dogira also be a robot? Yes, Dogira can also be a robot. You always see those Terminator movies, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's
like a lovely quick answer too. Is that yes, it can. There's already Dogira Chan. I don't see why we don't have a Dogira robot. I would actually like a Dogira style Megazord, so you can connect different robots to make your giant Dogira. So if somebody can get working on that and get a 3D print up for us, that would be A1.
I'll tap into the community and see what we can do. Let's see. Who would you consider to be your biggest competitor? I mean, all I can see right now is really Engine's doing something very similar to us, but I mean that's
yeah. I don't really even buy into that one. I mean, I think right now, crypto, well, we call it even companies or projects or what have you, but we all have a lot to learn from each other more than actually compete with each other. It suits everybody much better if we actually share the technology that we're developing on. It's not a tiny space. I mean, if you look at, say, BPro, for example, they're kind of more so focused on the actual the gambling side of gaming. So it used to be called the Betting Protocol Network, and now they're moving into they're building a lot on kind of the technology side of it now. So if we were to turn around and speak to BPro tomorrow or anything like that, I don't think either of us would consider ourselves to be in competition with each other. I would hope that we might be able to bring something to the table together, sit down and have a chat, and that would go as well for Engine or Chain Games or any other company really that's in that. I think there's another company we spotted today, Elixir, down at the down at Bitcoin 2021. Yeah. So Yeah, I think that right now, I wouldn't even look at it as competition. I think everybody has something that can, be gleaned from each other on this one, that people can learn together and improve their products together. I don't really see any direct competition that, if they do well, we won't do well, that sort of thing. I think right now a rising tide will, it would raise all boats. There's no issue that we see with anything kind of, stepping on toes or anything like that.
For the next one, what are the immediate plans for hiring new talent for developers and other roles? How do you see the project growing with the current team of only one developer, one ops, one marketing? And do you think it would be cost beneficial to use funding to increase project growth? So for the first question there, we do have immediate plans for hiring new developers. Absolutely. We are in the process of doing that, going through resumes and asking them questions and figuring out exactly if they would work for us.
Yeah.
Pretty much like would they be a good fit? Owen.
Yeah, so I suppose we kind of covered over this one already, that we're looking at kind of ways to expand the team, in general. So fantastic when it comes on for, we're looking for a developer at the moment, and that's, one of the more difficult roles to fill, particularly, this is a job where, you're not coming onto it and saying, okay, well, here's your salary, here's your healthcare and your benefits, etc., etc. Like it's a pretty tough project to be able to dedicate yourself to in these kind of cases. So when it comes to developers, yes, we are very interested in bringing one on board, but we're obviously going to be very deliberate about who we actually bring into the role, and very clear about, the generally high expectations that there are of a crypto developer. And that's just kind of a reality on it. For other roles then, when it comes to, we have an incredible artist at the moment, and everything, do we need more artists, stuff like that? Right now, I'd say, no, we don't. We have fantastic utility in what we have. We don't need to expand that bandwidth. And then, do we want to add on to say, any other areas then? Do we need more community managers? Do we need more on the side of marketing? Do we need somebody in copywriting? Like all of this stuff, we kind of look at one role at a time and see where can we best utilize our resources, particularly in a way that doesn't kind of bottleneck any one of us. That, if we brought on 20 new community managers tomorrow and it turned out they're all arguing with each other and they're, it's just gone all to hell, pretty much like that. And that's not going to be of any benefit to the person managing them. It's not going to be of any benefit to the community that has to deal with that kind of stuff. So we're taking our time in seeing what we need to bring on board, but we certainly are looking at bringing more people on board.
Absolutely. I mean, I would even dare say we wouldn't even need another artist or anybody on the ops side of things, if depending on how large we grow. When it comes to developers, absolutely, we need quite a bit of them over time. Right now, just that back end or engineer one. So if you guys have anybody that is skilled in that, please go ahead and send them our way. Who inspires you from the crypto world and outside world, Owen?
Outside world came to mind immediately, so that would always be John Carmack. Like, the man is a machine. It's an absolute machine. I've had the chance to work indirectly with him. Unfortunately, never had the chance to work directly with him. Always wanted to. I've heard just such incredible stories about him. If anybody is interested in either games development or physics or, computers in general, he has talks up available online on YouTube that you can watch. And like, the man is just a machine. Like, he's just so incredibly good at what he does, and he pushed the industry forward in so many different ways, done things that, I mean, if you look at like the original Doom engine, revolutionary for the time, but he doesn't then get credit for, Quake. That was just pretty much him as well. Then we had, Quake 2 on top of that, and the Doom 3 engine that came on top of it. Like, I mean, to think that the Doom 3 engine was spearheaded mostly by one person is absolutely insane. I mean, it's like, if I sat down today, even though the Doom 3 engine is, oh God, it's probably about 15 years old now, if not older. There's so much in it. I mean, it was so kind of revolutionary when it came out that I couldn't even imagine, like, even with the tools available at my disposal today, sitting down and writing something that complex and so well working at the same time. And of course, it was an awesome game that was released with it as well. I mean, it's so definitely John Carmack for outside of the crypto space. Inside of the crypto space, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I have a massive amount of respect for the Digibyte team. So I remember working with them back, like they were kind of the first people I worked with back when I was on Dogecoin. As Billy and Jackson, like they said themselves, they're not really developers. They can't help when it came to the multiple mining issue that we were experiencing. So it was pretty much me, and that's just a long time ago. What, 2013 or so, maybe 2014. So I was definitely not as strong a developer as I would have been today. Like I hadn't even finished my degree or anything at that stage. And the fact that Digibyte just kind of reached out and said, like, do you want us to, help you with that one? Then yeah, please, can you, like, so I kind of described to them that the issue we're having with the difficulty levels that are being imposed by the multi-pool miners, that, they get up so high, then it gets unprofitable, then they leave. And, we have to get away from the difficulty level to come back down, actually make it possible to mine again, or to do something that makes it incapable of, attracting that multi-pool attention to begin with, without ruining it for people who want to, mine off the graphics card. So the fact that, this was, I would have said back then, yes, there is a competitive space in crypto, because that's when we had the first real kind of altcoin kickoff, when everything was starting to appear. Litecoin was doing pretty well at that time. Digibyte they were brand new at that time. They were so new that we did, a trade over in tokens, just, as a hello greeting kind of thing. And it's funny thinking back on it. I think there was over 1 million tokens we passed over each. So if we just kept those tokens for, a decade, I think we both would have been laughing. Yeah, the Digibyte team, they left a huge impression on me, just in that they were so friendly and approachable in working with. It was something we don't see, I think, as much of today. I think there's a lot more competitiveness between tokens that are launching. There's people nearly get nasty with each other when they have two tokens that are launching, especially when you're looking at, community tokens and stuff like that. They just start arguing and screaming at each other and berating them for their choice of token. But nowadays there's kind of so much that can be done in crypto. The industry has moved on so much that you can make things without stepping on toes. And back then, when a lot of the time coins were launching and it literally, I suppose, put it in today's context, safe moon after safe moon after safe moon. But that was really all we had back then. There were meme tokens. We had Dogecoin, obviously, and then Kate came along at the same time. And I can't even remember half them. I remember just having dozens and dozens of different coins in dozens of different wallets, stuff like that. But back then, people were just so much more friendly about it. Even though it was a much more kind of tight-knit competitive space to move forward in. But yeah, Digibyte, I'd say that their team is probably one of the inspirations that I have now, in that, they did again, their work was revolutionary at the time. The gravity well algorithm that they wrote up in DigiShield is Doge wouldn't have survived if they weren't, developing on that technology already, and then coming in with myself to actually, implement it into Dogecoin and get it working. So I think a lot of it comes down to nearly just the attitude that they had towards it, in that they saw somewhere they could help. They saw somebody interested in blockchain development in myself, and they were as friendly as they possibly could have been, and as helpful as they possibly could have been. So yeah, I suppose that might be a bit of I'm not going to say underwhelming answer. I'm sure people were waiting for something like, Satoshi or Mr. Binance or Mr. Battery Man selling his bags over on Twitter. But yeah, no, for myself, yeah. But yeah, for myself, it's a lot of the smaller coins that really inspire me. Just seeing what some people have done in the time that they've had, and being able to actually bring these revolutions in. And obviously Vitalik is up there. I mean, he was very young when he got into this, and a lot of this is his revolution now. I think with the lack of having Satoshi in any kind of public figure, a lot of it kind of falls onto Vitalik, and I think he has been incredibly representative of the role that he's been given. He's continued to push things forward. He does good work with charities, obviously. Great work in pulling liquidity from other coins to help out charities. But yeah, that would kind of be my main one. Would be the smaller developers who just work on things and make it work, and just have a genuine interest in getting other people into the space.
I think for me personally, it's the lines are kind of blended. I don't really have anyone in particular, crypto world or outside world, that is inspirational for me. It's pretty much anyone that has a passion or is able to push past the bounds of kind of the human physical state. Like they're able to use their mind to push past that. So, going for long periods of time without sleeping, having so much passion in a project or product or mission in life that they do exactly that, and they're changing the things around them rather than just kind of going with the flow of life.
Yeah, it's, like that. That is a very real thing, and like I never like glorifying the idea of somebody who is sacrificing sleep to work on a product. I think there is a healthy balance that needs to be found, because you will do damage to yourself doing stuff like that. But the reality is, this is happening because people are so excited about what they're working on that they're waking up and spending every living moment putting their energy into it. And yeah, it's incredible to see.
The next one, are there any new partnerships in the pipeline? I'll just cut it off there. We will not speak about new partnerships or new things in the pipeline like that. Again, leads to more speculation, rumors, and such. But we are we're always on the lookout. So if you have any suggestions, go ahead and give them to us. And whatever you give to us, I will look into it. The next one, there still appears to be a bunch of tiny buys on Uniswap after many of the sells. So whoever, maybe a bot, is clearly doing this to get the 10th buy bonus, are they just silly because they do not feel like it's making it fair for the rest of them?
So I've spoken on this one in the last AMA, and there is something done about that, but we can't speak on what it is right now. So I'll speak more on it in the future.
Next one, is there a current existing white paper that you believe is the epitome of what a white paper should be? Engines, for example, with the use of technical language and infographics. I would say that there is one that I saw in particular that Dan went ahead and showed us. It was a company called Ultras. We were just looking at different crypto companies and such, and their white paper stuck out to us because it showed obvious it showed a lot of thought into the project that they were, and I'm not meaning to promote Ultra or any other coins or anything, but the white paper was great. It showed a clear problem and how they could solve it, and it had some very nice images, and it was very clean, very professional.
Yeah, and like, just even to say on that one, like I don't ever really believe in the, I don't mean to promote other coins kind of stuff. We can always call out good work that another coin has done. I mean, I spoke about BPro and the work that they've done in, their own, the betting protocol service. So I think that when you've got real coins and real projects you want to speak about, like Engine with ERC 1155, definitely deserves a call out. That's something that we can all be inspired from. But I think that it kind of depends on the company, or depends on the project, etc. Like, there are some projects that are really suited to, a white paper that would just have tokenomics on it, and that would be, your community tokens, things like that. It depends on kind of what level you're going to with it. But yeah, they had a fantastic white paper. I'm kind of thinking in my head, like, it's nearly like it's whatever works for whatever project. I'm trying to think of kind of like bad examples of white papers, nearly kind of, answer in a contradiction.
I can give you some great examples of bad examples, great examples of bad ones. I mean,
yes, well, see, that's the thing. I was thinking of a few of them that are, just plain and simple lazy. But then it was like, no, well, this is like a community token. That's the point of it, isn't it? Like, people, like, the white paper did its job in that if you looked at this white paper and you saw it was practically MS Paint and there's spelling mistakes everywhere, and then you bought the token and you lost money, it's like, well, the white paper did its job. You should have been able to tell that was going to happen. So I think really every white paper in its own right is as perfect as it could possibly be. It's what's selling you something, and they're all very, very honest representations of what you're getting, at least in terms of production quality and effort.
I mean, that actually just reminded me of a good talk when I first came onto the team, that there were some graphics and other things that I would do just real quick, so Owen and Chris, when he was here, and Dan could work on some stuff. And it's a good thing that we do have the artist we have now, because Owen kept saying that my stuff looked like it was from MS Paint, and he was about to lose his appetite and not eat his chicken and rice. So it was going to be a horrible thing. So it's good that I'm no longer on MS Paint anymore and I'm doing this other stuff. So.
Yeah. And I like how I'm so synonymous now, just eating chicken and rice the whole time. Yeah, it is literally my staple diet. if I'm eating at any point in time, it's very likely that I'm eating chicken and rice. Just nice and easy to cook, and rice is brilliant. As some comedians said it before, it was it's great for when you're hungry and you want to eat like 10,000 or something. Like, yeah, love me some rice.
If I send Owen 1 ETH, will he send me 2 ETH back?
Yes, definitely. You can just send it straight into my Binance, and I'll get that sorted for you.
Perfect.
You've played EVE Online, right?
I have not, but
Okay,
I have heard of it, and I do want to go ahead and check it out and play it. So
so what I'm offering to the user there is basically an EVE Online doubling service. They're very legitimate, don't you worry. You just send me on any coins you want straight into my Binance, and yeah, be sure to double them for you.
Same here. Just don't look at the decimals. Let's see. There's a back and forth here, pretty much just asking about the Dogira 1.5 release. It's going to be in V2. So all of these, the buying, selling bonuses, the different types of tokenomics and things, that's going to be released during V2.
Yeah, and I think just to disambiguate that one a little bit, the Doge, it'll be Dogira V2. What we have right now is Doge City 1.5, which was mostly just to lock up those tokens, take them out of circulation for the time being until we drop Dogira V2.
I read somewhere that Dogebreath was currently not working properly in that it wasn't distributing the expected amount of tokens to people's wallets. Was this fixed?
Yeah, I took a look into that one. I did see that it was distributing like an unusually low amount of tokens, and I can't quite see why, because the to again just kind of add context onto this one, the contract that we're working with right now, the Dogira V1 contract, wasn't written by myself. I've worked with the original developer on that one, who's for himself, he's more interested in working on small community-based tokens and stuff like that, not jumping into a larger project with market caps that go into the millions, stuff like that. But so I've worked with him on, we've spotted a good couple of bugs that are in there at the moment, and it's possible there might be one or two more in there. So this is something that is being pretty much rewritten for the V2 contract that we're going to be launching with Dogira. So right now, I would say the general advice I was gave that when it comes to the gamified tokenomics like Dogebreath and Doge Smash, stuff like that, I would say stop using them for the time being. This is stuff that we're going to, be looking at for V2 and be much more capable of doing, much more kind of in-depth testing on it before it's released. So it's something that we won't have any real concerns about when it goes up into V2, any of the tokenomics or any gamified functions, if any, that we decide to include inside of that. Let's see. So this one that Owen mentioned, the Backroom team, I thought he said during the last AMA that team was only 3 people, Owen, Skyler and Dan. That is correct. So that's what I meant by Backroom team. It's myself, Skyler and Dan working in the background. I suppose Skyler and myself would be more interactive with the community, but the new team members that we might be bringing on, like, we're looking at stuff that wouldn't require immediate work going on in the background. Now, on top of that, our team does also have Mary coming on as, she's our artist. Not currently in the core team, but is as core to the team as we can get her at the moment. That's a team member that we have that's actually in chats and stuff like that. You can directly talk with, but it is Backroom so much that the work that they do goes directly to us. They're not speaking or showing off the work as much as, say, things that we might work on directly and show off. Let's see. Okay, so this is again to cover over one that was on there earlier that you saw the other day. Solana was working with Unity 3D. What are your thoughts about that? Is it direct competition? So again, I'd say no. This is stuff that we can all learn from each other on. And if Solana working with Unity 3D, that's fantastic. I can't wait to see the stuff they're releasing on it. So I think that this is all stuff that the community at large will benefit from, and particularly the crypto industry would benefit from as well. Like, this is anybody who's pushing forward the industry in any way at all, that can be learned from by other communities and other projects. Like, unless they were doing literally 100% the exact same things we would be doing, which would be incredible if we managed to overlap to that level. But again, this is something that I think everybody will benefit from. I mean, it's possible that they come out with an SDK that, plugs a lot of gaps that we didn't look at in R1, and R1 might do the exact same then when it comes to Solana, things like that. We might start, just releasing games, find that, the games themselves are getting excellent traction. The off-chain tokens are doing great. The token launchpad is bringing in a lot of stuff. So at that point then, if Solana say, oh yeah, we're making a Unity 3D SDK, we'd probably say, well, what can we do to help you there? Can we do something together on it? So again, this is all stuff that, as the industry moves forward, we need to be capable of being agile and moving around what we are doing to be able to provide use in what we're actually delivering. Because the reality is, if the two of us released, a Unity 3D SDK, or we released the exact same type of game, we both decided to release, say, just off the top of my head, Fortnite, a battle royale game, then we'd be in direct competition. But right now, there's certainly nothing that I would see that would class us as in competition. I think it's something that, that is going to benefit everybody, hopefully, including us.
What is Dogira's plans to educate and raise awareness and adoption among the community, make more people understand about that's phrase strange, but I do understand what you're saying. How are we going to be able to educate the community in an easy way, and also raise awareness and adoption so they can understand the project better? So we are working on infographics right now. Thank you for everybody that has pointed that out with other projects, how they have pretty much a one-page image and it just shows everything on there, really easy to understand. We are in process of making that, so we do got those coming out.
How do you all at Dogira feel about the Unreal Engine? Would it support your mission objectives with video gaming systems and services, and that you're a developer on it? Cool. So, yeah, when I look at it, the engines that we would look to develop in or support, a lot of it would come down to what is useful at the time. What's actually going to suit the project that we're looking to build. So I wouldn't lock myself straight into like Godot or Unity or Unreal Engine before I actually looked at what I wanted to build. Now, the Unreal Engine obviously is a little bit more unyielding than Unity 3D. Unity is it's a lot more beginner friendly, and we find that that's why a lot of indie developers, they start with Unity and then they become Unity experts without needing to touch the Unreal Engine. So obviously there are concerns we would have if we were to start developing for, say, Godot, which has a much smaller user base of developers right now. So a lot of it will be kind of, how can we get this stuff released out and get it into the hands of as many developers and help them out as much as possible. And I'd love to say that, we'll do every single engine, but we have such a limited amount of time that we need to focus our resources on, getting one product out well. But again, when we look at building an SDK and stuff like that, and looking at our long-term plans going ahead, as I was saying, there's every possibility that we start working kind of more directly on releases, or that our token launchpad takes off, and that requires more resources from us. And there's so many kind of things that will be in flux here that we have to be agile for, that I wouldn't even like to sit around and kind of talk in super detail about the SDK that we'd be releasing and for what engine we'd be releasing it for, and things like that, because this can all change in flux. I mean, there's every possibility that, we're working with Unity and all of a sudden the Unreal Engine comes out with a massive new, a massive update to their blueprint system, and now every developer on the planet is using the Unreal Engine. That's the point where we'd have to kind of pivot and go, okay, well, if we are building an SDK and we want to get it into as many hands as possible, then we need to look at the Unreal Engine. But, if we're building a title or anything like that, or a token launchpad, it's just something that we need to kind of keep an eye on the actual, how the market is actually reacting to it and what our goals are for it. Like, if we're releasing our own title, the goals are a little different. Like, we have to kind of look more so at, is there something very similar already out there? Can we actually improve on something here? Can we make it fun? Does it sound fun? Can we prototype it, check that out, etc.? When it comes to building an SDK, we need to have a feature list that we need to kind of have out in stone. We can't do a whole lot of experimentation. We would just need to, run straight with it and say, what are we targeting? We have to decide this ahead of time. So it's very different depending on whatever we jump into. I hope that does answer the question. I know it's I know it's much easier for me to say, like, yeah, I love the Unreal Engine and I'd love to make stuff with it. Like, that's the truth. I do really like working with the Unreal Engine. I haven't worked with it as much as I'd like to, is the only thing. But like, it's a lot of the time when I kind of speak with people about stuff that we want to build and deploy onto things, it's very difficult to really keep yourself from saying that, I'd love to do that. Yeah, let's make that SDK and let's release it on 3 different engines at one time, and let's make sure it's working for VR as well. Like, we're going to put something in there, that will only be blockchain on VR or whatever it may be. But it's something that we have to kind of restrain ourselves on and actually look at these things, what kind of resources do we have to work with here? What will get the most use and most benefit out to developers or out to, players or anything like that as well. But in a perfect world, yes, we'd be launching with Unreal Engine 5. But right now it's something that we can't even realistically comment on. We need to still sit down and kind of see how we're going with this and see what way the market is reacting to it. And then obviously see, if we're building it for developers, where would the developers be? Stuff like that. So more news on it in the near future. But yeah, that's. I hope again that does answer the question. I know it's very roundabout and covers a couple of different things there. But more than welcome to chat about games development in our Telegram community or on Discord here as well.
All right, and that is going to be the end of it. Did you want to add anything?
No, that's everything for me. But thanks to everybody for jumping on in here. I know the market has been quite volatile towards crypto. I mean, I think that was the biggest 2-week drop we've ever had in the crypto market as a whole, with Bitcoin dropping down. What was it, 65%, or was it 60% that we wicked down onto?
I think it was like 65.
Yeah.
ETH was about I think 1800, the lowest.
I really wish I had a buy order in. What can you do? But yeah, it's I know it's a very turbulent time at the moment, and likely a lot of you, particularly if this is your first time in a crypto market or following a crypto project, you likely do have a lot of concerns at this stage. Unfortunately, this is crypto. Our main goal here is to develop on the product, to make sure that we do the best that we can and actually building the things that we're envisioning. And obviously, all of you have your own vested stake in it. We want to do everything we can to make you feel comfortable in that. But when the market does turn like this one, sometimes it can help to kind of reassess your position. And again, this is not to give financial advice, not a financial advisor, etc. But I've seen, a lot of people do look at their positions in crypto at times that really it might be a bit late looking at them. So it's one thing when you have a correction, but it's when there's an actual crash, when we went to bear season, that's when you really know if you put too much into one currency. So you don't need to have a massive percentage of the supply to feel like you're vested in Dogira. We have a massive amount of appreciation for everybody who's following the project, whether they have tokens or not. So if you do feel that, you got hurt badly by the last market correction that hit every single coin, do make sure you're paying attention to the fact that you need to rent or pay a mortgage or eat or afford clothes, things like that. Like, it's something always worth keeping in mind when it comes to crypto, that market corrections do happen and they can be a real shakeout. So do look after yourselves in that regard. And if there are any questions or anything that you do have about stuff like that, I'm sure our community will be able to chip in as well and give their own kind of, we won't call it financial advice on it, what do we need to call it, entertainment advice? But yeah, it's I think we have a brilliant community to work with on stuff like this, that a lot of people are interested in it for the actual technology that we're developing and for kind of watching the actual rollout of an early stage coin. Just make sure that when you're kind of getting caught up in the hype of early stage coins and things like that, that you don't put in more than you don't want to lose. Like, it's been the same for myself every time I look at crypto. I've seen fantastic projects, but I've always been quite reserved and making sure that this is the most volatile market on the planet. So when you can look at Bitcoin, which is called something that's democracy. I mess up this word every time we speak, and I try to say.
It's okay. I messed up Cardano.
Yeah. But when it comes to something as ambitious as wanting to bring democracy to a currency, and when you can see that it can drop by 60% or 65% in one slap, we are in a very young emerging market, and volatility is all part of it. And it is one thing where, you see it on Twitter, you just have to hold and that's it. Yeah, it's great to sit there and hold when you're not holding your rent money. So please do be careful on all stuff like that. Keep yourselves hydrated, etc. And yeah, we'll be around Telegram, on Discord, etc. for anybody who does want to chat more throughout the weeks ahead. So thank you all for turning up onto this. And if there's anything that we missed, please do drop it on Telegram. I'm sure either myself, a member of the team, or one of the community will be able to chip in and give you an answer on it. Thanks a million all. We'll speak soon.